first and foremost, thanks so much to everybody who wrote in with their suggestions of what I should do the next beginner poi series on. I'm going to start delving into some of those requests in 2 weeks, but first I wanted to do a two-part series on what I'm calling transition tools. That is tools that you can use to switch between some of the tricks that we've talked about so far in my different beginner video series. We've talked a lot about those individual tricks and how you do them, but not so much on how you get between them. And I know that that's a problem that really vexes a lot of beginners, is they have a trick that they want to play with and then they want to switch to another trick, but they have no idea how to get there. So what happens more often than not is they just completely stop the poi from moving, and then they'll switch into the other trick that they want to do, and they'll stop the poi from moving, and then they'll switch into that other trick they want to do, stop the poi from moving. Yeah, it's messy, there's no doubt about it. So one of those things that I really frequently hear from beginners is, what can I do to learn these different transitions? What can I do to switch between these moves? So we're going to talk about pendulums and 1.5s and stalls, and how you can use these different tools to switch the direction of your poi, and sometimes the timing of it, in order to switch between these different moves that we've been talking about. This week we're going to be working with pendulums and 1.5s. Next week comes stalls, right? So let's dive in. Pendulums are a little bit different from pretty much every other trick that we've worked with so far in my beginner series. This is because pendulums are based around the idea that you do not want the poi to complete a circle. Every other trick that we've played with so far in my beginner series has been about getting the poi to create circles around the hand. So pendulums are going to feel a little bit weird. There's going to be a little bit of work involved here to make them feel natural. Where I want you guys to start is just start off in this nice little pendulum place. What you're looking to do ideally is get it to the point where you can get the poi head perfectly out horizontal from the hand on either side of your body. You'll notice that every time the poi head drops down to the other side, in essence, it has changed direction, right? So, for example, if I wanted to spin clockwise relative to me from this pendulum place, I would do so when it's dropping down from the right-hand side of my body. If I wanted to switch into a counterclockwise place, I would drop down from the left-hand side of my body. So the initial piece of work that you've got is, say, take 1, 2, 3 beats of a pendulum and switch it into what we call static spin. This is where your hand is staying still, but the poi is moving in a circle around it, right? Now, to get back out of static spin, you're essentially going to be catching the poi head as it's on its way up and killing its momentum, such to the point that it'll drop back and forth into pendulum once again. So, once again, your work becomes to do 1, 2, 3 beats of pendulum into static spin, break out into pendulum once again. 1, 2, 3 beats of pendulum into static spin. If you keep it an odd number, you should be switching the direction every single time, right? Do this and get a good feeling for how much momentum you need to put into a pendulum to switch it to static spin, and how much momentum you need to steal from it in order to get back into pendulum. Now, once that feels comfortable, the next step is to take it to a larger scale and get your arm involved. This right here is a big, long pendulum. Once again, I'm trying to get that nice tabletop feel, where the poi head is straight out horizontal on each side. And this time when I want to switch to static spin, I have the option either of flicking it when it's on either side, or at the point where it crosses body center, down the bottom, I can just stop my hand from moving, give it maybe a little bit of a flick, but otherwise it should automatically go into a pretty nice static place. Once again, to get back out of static spin, you're going to kind of arrest its momentum as it's on its way up. So if it's turning, say, counterclockwise, you're going to imagine that there's a person standing, say, 10 feet to your right, and you're going to throw the poi underhand to them, very, very gently. You know, this is You know, you're throwing an egg or something else very, very delicate. So you want to make sure that you're giving it enough momentum to go, but not so much that, you know, go over the person's head. Likewise, when you're coming around in this clockwise place, you can imagine that there's somebody standing 10 feet to your left, and once again, toss the poi very gently their way, and that'll get you back into this pendulum place. So, once again, do the work of 1, 2, 3 pendulums in a static spin. Switch back into the pendulum for 1, 2, 3 beats into static, and 1, 2, 3 beats into static, out into 1, 2, 3 beats into static. Note the pattern there, how we're switching direction each time? Awesome. Now we're going to go for a little bit harder variation on our pendulums, and this is going to tie directly into the move that is ultimately going to come out of this. And by the way, make sure that you're doing these exercises with both hands, because that will also be really important. Now we're going to go back into this big pendulum place, and now I'm going to freeze my hand over on my left side and let it swing as a little pendulum for a second. And when the poi head is pointed out away from me, I'm going to drag it across as though there's a straight horizontal line across my eyes that it's going to follow into this small pendulum place on my right-hand side. And once again, when the poi is pointed straight out away from me to the right-hand side, I'm going to drop it down and around into a nice big long pendulum again. So again, that's nice big pendulum, little pendulum, drag it across, little pendulum, down and around, little pendulum, drag it across, little pendulum, down and around. Eventually, you're going to get it to the point where you can just go straight from dragging it across on top to that big pendulum underneath. Make sure you're getting that moment where the poi head is pointed straight out away from you on either side. And again, make sure that you're able to do it with both hands. Note that when you're dropping the poi down on your right-hand side, you have the option to drop into static spin once again. And when you come out of static spin, you can continue the direction of that original pendulum again, yeah? Cool. So now it is time to combine it with something else, and namely, a static spin that doesn't stop. You're going to create this little move right here. This is the first example that a lot of people learn of a concept called a hybrid. In purest terms, a hybrid is getting each hand to do a different poi trick simultaneously, but to synchronize them in such a way that they mesh up together. So this right here is a pendulum versus static spin hybrid. How we get to this is we're going to start off with a static spin and keep it low. Keep it, we're all going to start off with our right hand going clockwise here. Even if you're a lefty, do it this way. And keep it low, keep it real low, about hip level or so. As you're doing so with your left hand, you're going to kind of imagine that you're like paddling a boat with your hand. And the circle that the poi is tracing out is like the side of the boat. So you're kind of reaching over the side of the boat to paddle into the water. This will create a little moment where just for an instant, that poi is rotating kind of in your armpit. Once that feels relatively comfortable, and bear in mind, it doesn't matter how many beats of static spin it takes you to complete this move, you're going to have that hand that's doing the paddling do it while it's holding onto this pendulum. And again, notice, I'm doing 1, 2 downbeats with my static spin hand for every pendulum that I complete. It does not matter if these two moves are perfectly in sync. All that matters is that you're getting them together. As you go further on with this move, you're going to learn how to keep them synchronized. It is not something that you need to know to do it in the first place. It's something that will come as you're working on it. So Of course, you're going to do the same work on the other side of your body. You're going to get your poi in your left hand turning counterclockwise, and your right hand is going to do a pendulum around in a counterclockwise direction as well. Get this feeling stable on both sides. The next piece of work is to switch between them. Now, remember, we are always dropping down on the right-hand side of our body when the right hand is doing static spin and the left hand is doing pendulum. This means that we always have the option when the left hand is dropping down of switching into static spin in such a way that the poi are both turning in the same direction, right? We also have the option from here that the left hand can reach back and try and kill the momentum of its poi and go back into this pendulum place. We also have the same option on the other side. When the right hand is in pendulum, as it's dropping down on the left-hand side of the body, we can switch into same time, same direction. And from here, the right hand can reach back and catch the point in pendulum once again. We're going to make use of this. We're going to start off right hand in static, left hand in pendulum. And we're going to get in 1, 2, 3, 4 beats of pendulum. Remember, it does not matter how many static spin beats you're doing, however many it takes. And on the 4th beat, we're going to drop it into static such that we've got both hands going in static. And then we're going to reach back with our right hand and do 1, 2, 3, 4 beats of pendulum back into static. Then we're going to reach back with our left hand. 1, 2, 3 beats. Reach back with the right. 1, 2, 3 beats. Working our way down. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Ideally, we want to get it to a place where we're moving through that spot where both hands are going in static spin, as though it's almost not even there. And once we're there, we're creating a move called a 1.5 beat weave, which of course we can switch from the 1.5 beat weave into both hands going static any old time we want. We can also switch into a 3 beat weave whenever we want by dropping out of the pendulum and reaching across with whichever hand is doing pendulum just a moment ago, right? We also have the option, as we're doing a 1.5, we can stop it on one side, and as that pendulum hand is going up on one side, we can choose to drop it back down, away from the direction it just came. It'll change the direction of it such that we can go into opposites now, right? Once again, that's as it goes around. When it goes out to the left, I reverse the direction of my hand, drop it into static spin, and now I'm in a place where the poi are turning in opposite directions. Cool, huh? So, 1.5s are one of, if not the most versatile tool that I've played with in transitioning between moves. So I really urge you guys to play with them and find all the different places that you can stick them and make them work. So next week I will be back with stalls and then on to requests. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next Friday. Peace.